Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ninth edition of Drive Time with Mike, the lesson format we use at Walnut Street Church of Christ for our small groups known as community drive groups. Thanks for taking the ride with me today. I want you to look at Luke chapter 5, verses 17 through 26. Luke chapter 5, verses 17 through 26. And I want to just pose a thought to you today that sort of sets us up for our discussion. Imagine having a faith that is so powerful that it catches God's attention and compels him to heal or help someone you love. Imagine having that kind of a faith. Would you like to have that kind of faith? It's possible, and I believe that in this passage of Scripture, we see three keys to having the kind of faith that catches God's attention and compels him to help people that you love. So let's look at that for just a moment. Key number one is that your faith must be active. Your faith must be active. Now, in this story, there are four men who have a friend who's paralyzed, and they find out that Jesus is in town. Now, at this point in time, they don't just say to themselves, Jesus is in town, and I bet you that Jesus could heal our friend. They don't stop with just belief. Their belief leads them to action. So they take their friend, and they put him on a stretcher, and they go to the house where Jesus is. Now, in James chapter 2, James says this. He says, "You show me your faith apart from your action, and I will show you my faith by my action, because faith without works is dead." A good faith, a biblical faith, a faith that catches God's attention and compels him to want to help people that you love, is one that is active, one that takes action. Now here's key number two. Key number two is commitment. Commitment. When the men get to the place where Jesus is with their friend on the stretcher, they actually come to a wall of people, so they're not able to get their friend to Jesus. Oftentimes in our lives, in our faith, we will come to walls. We will come to times where things are difficult. We will experience hard times. Here's the question. At that point in time, will you turn around and go home? Or will you continue to press on? Will you continue to be committed to your faith? Will you continue to be committed to your action? These men were, and it led them to key number three. Key number three is persistence. Persistence. When they ran into that wall of people, so they couldn't get their friend to Jesus, they had to think outside the box. And they did something that to me has always been so strange, but kind of amazing at the same time. They took their friend up on the roof. Now, I don't know if they knew this person, whoever owned this house. I don't know if that was a complete stranger or not, but Jesus is sitting in someone's house, and these four men take their friend up on the roof, and they literally dig a hole in the tiles and drop their friend through the hole down to Jesus. They were persistent because of their commitment. They were persistent and committed to their action because they had faith that Jesus would heal their friend. And in verse 20, we see one of the most amazing things in the Bible. It says that when Jesus looked up and saw their faith, when he saw their action, when he saw their commitment, when he saw their persistence, he had compassion on the man in the stretcher, and he forgave the man of his sins, and he healed the man of his paralysis. That is the kind of faith that I want. Doesn't that sound like an amazing faith? That's the kind of faith that I want. It takes action, it takes commitment, and it takes persistence. Who do you love? Who do you care about that needs Jesus? You can demonstrate the kind of faith that can compel Jesus to want to do something about their situation. You can have the kind of faith that can compel Jesus to want to forgive them of their sins. Isn't that something? I would encourage you today to work on having that kind of faith, an active faith, a committed faith, and a persistent faith, because that is the kind of faith that gets God's attention and compels Him to want to help your loved ones. Be blessed.